It's pink, it's rock hard, and it's coming to Johto today. Corsola is getting its shot at a solo playthrough. This run is a part of my Forgotten Pokemon series, and honestly Corsola has only partial status in this group of Pokemon. Game Freak did it a serious solid and gave it one of the cutest regional forms, as well as a great evolution in Pokemon Sword and Shield. However, from Generation 2 until the end of Generation 7, this thing didn't get a lot of love. So I was very excited to use it in the generation that it originally debuted in, but I really wasn't ready for how it was gonna go. This playthrough was painful. Here are the rules for today. I can only use Corsola in battle. No items in battle, including held items. Johto is pretty easy, so let's make it as hard as possible. No glitches or exploits. And no double team before level 100. If I can't defeat Red at level 100, then I'll allow it. It's possible to reset for a perfect Corsola with only in-game data. This table shows the stats that an untrained Corsola will have at level 5. The leftmost column shows the DV value that will produce the stats that are present in the row. If you look at the bottom of the table at the row for the maximum DV value of 15, you can see that Corsola will have a unique value in all of its stats. So just opening its stats page after receiving it from Professor Elm will be enough information to know which stats are perfect and which are not. In an effort to speed up my production process, because these videos take forever to create, I set myself up with a perfect Corsola from the start. I'll discuss this choice in more detail at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. So what is Corsola? We need to determine that first. I figured out that Quillfish is a sea urchin, Girafarig is a horse, and Sneasel is a monkey, but this little pink thing eludes me. Because of its unnatural pink color, it must be man-made, so I guess it's just a piece of trash that floats in the ocean. It is a special attacker, but it can make use of physical attacks without losing too much power. However, it's mostly defensive in nature, and also comes with incredibly low speed. When compared to the powerhouses that I've been using in Johto lately, Corsola is pretty underwhelming. However, Rock-type allows it to resist normal-type attacks, making the early game very easy. Additionally, Corsola learns water and rock moves, giving it access to both physical and special damage categories, and the same type attack bonus, or stab, for both of its types. Through TMs, Corsola has access to the Defense Curl rollout combo, but I don't think this is going to be particularly useful because of its speed. For coverage, moves like Hidden Power, Earthquake, Psychic, and Mud Slap could be useful. As I approach Violet City, I realize that the tankiness that Corsola has had in the early game is about to expire. Sprout Tower is filled with Bellsprout, and because they're at extremely low levels, the only move that most of them will know is Vine Whip, and Grass is 4 times effective against Corsola. As a kid, I always found it strange how awful these early Bellsprout were, but today I find myself truly fearing them. However, it is possible to skip the tower entirely, so I head straight for Falkner's gym. Rock-type is theoretically strong against Flying-type Pokemon, but I don't have any super effective offensive options right now. I'll have to make Tackle work. Falkner opens with Pidgey. It's only level 7, but this thing is terrifying in solo playthroughs because of Mud Slap, especially when it's super effective against your Pokemon's typing. Unfortunately for me, it is, so Falkner's AI spams Mud Slap over and over. There's just something so wrong about the Flying-type gym leader using a ground move. It doesn't take much mud to completely blind Corsola's tiny eyes, and then Pidgeotto deals the final blow. I decide that Falkner isn't going to happen at this level, and perhaps the Bellsprout are at a low enough level to give me some experience to let Corsola level up. But it's awful in the tower as well. Vine Whip is dealing consistent damage to Corsola, and this forces me back to the Pokemon Center between each fight. I am losing so much time just walking back and forth. This is already such a slog. After a lot of time, I make it to the Sage at the top of the tower. However, defeating him is going to be impossible at this level because he has 2 level 7 Bellsprout. If I manage to get past both of these, his Hoot Hoot would likely just finish me off. Looking back at my learn set, my tiny pink piece of trash is going to learn Bubble at level 13. Corsola, don't worry, I say trash out of love and factual accuracy, not hate. After some training east of Violet City, I come back and face Falkner again. The first Pidgey is much easier now due to Bubble getting the stab modifier and dealing special damage. However, the accuracy lowering effects of Mud Slap are still too much. I tried twice at this level to see if I could get a bit luckier, but it just isn't happening. I continue to train, and each time I level up I reattempt Falkner. At level 14 it isn't working, but at level 15 I'm dealing enough damage to knock out the first Pidgey in 2 hits. However, my second attack misses, because of course it does, and that means that I've got to face the Pidgeotto with 2 stages lower accuracy anyways. Bubble misses twice, and on the third turn I hit the level 9 bird and it does around 1/4 damage. Then I hit it again, and again, and this third bubble is the critical hit that finishes Falkner off. I end the fight with a healthy 26 hit points, so it looks like level 15 is what is required to make it past the majestic bird master who uses ground moves. He is secretly a fan of blue, I guess. I decide to just skip the Sage and Sprout Tower entirely. I'll come back here after Claire and pick up the TM for Flash for Mount Silver then. Now things should be easier, right? It appears so, because the rockets in Slowpoke Well aren't a threat for Corsola. I want to take a moment and talk about why I've decided to play Pokemon Crystal version for the majority of my Gen 2 challenges going forward. The first reason is that you all seem to love Crystal. Second reason, I play Yellow in Generation 1, so I like the idea of sticking to third versions. Yellow, Crystal, Emerald, and Platinum. Third reason, the introduction of move tutors in this game really adds an additional layer of power to some Pokemon's moves. Access to Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Flamethrower is honestly just great. For Corsola, this is the case because it gets access to Ice Beam through the tutor, and this move gives it coverage against its greatest weakness, grass types. One thing to remember about the move tutor is that he only shows up on Wednesday or Saturday, and he won't appear until after you've entered the Hall of Fame. With all of the rockets defeated, Kurt heals me and I head over to Bugsy's gym. I had to overlevel for Falkner, so I don't think I need to train in here today. Plus Bug can't output much damage to my rock typing. I should be fine, right? Wrong, because Bugsy is a serious threat due to Fury Cutter. It doubles in power with each successive hit, and it can knock Corsola out even despite my ability to heal with Recover. Okay, I'll try the rival instead. He's usually not too tough. Ghastly is easy to finish off, but then Bayleaf comes out, and the high critical ratio Razor Leaf finishes Corsola off. I guess the only solution right now is to train. At level 20, I return to Bugsy because I think this fight is going to be the easier of the two to get past. Spending this time training gave me a chance to think about some alternate strategies, and I've decided to take a page out of Metapod's book and use Harden. I know, this is the sort of content that you come here to watch. Corsola using Harden, while Metapod does 1 damage at a time. So engaging. Such great content. Now that I have 6 turns of defense set up for Scyther, Corsola is going to tank damage from Fury Cutter for slightly longer. However, once again, it just gains power too quickly and the pink sea trash Pokemon faints. I failed a couple more times and then I went back to training, which is also a painful experience. The Johto level curve means these Pokemon are underleveled and give out pathetic amounts of experience. The going is slow. So because of this, I continue to brainstorm ideas of how to proceed that doesn't involve leveling up to 25 for Bubble Beam. What about Mud Slap for the rival? I delete Tackle for it and then make a major mistake by saving before I fight him. Now I'm dealing almost no damage to Bayleaf because it resists both Bubble and Mud Slap. The accuracy lowering effects of the move could allow me to win, but it would take a lot of luck. I'm just not going to feel good proceeding that way. Bugsy is still impossible with Mud Slap because it can't hit Scyther, so the solution here is just that I need Bubble Beam to get past this part of the game. I'm 50 minutes in, I've got 14 resets, and I haven't even received the second badge yet. I'm really not happy with how things are going so far. For me, these solo playthrough videos are a chance to tell a story and show you my learning process. I'm not perfect, and it's hard to understand exactly what the flaws of a Pokemon are going to be before playing the run. After trying things out once, it's easier to identify the flaws and correct for them. So for the sake of Corsola's time in the tier list at the end, I decided to do something fairly radical. I started the entire challenge over. This little thing deserves better, and I know that I can improve on this section of the game. It might be a piece of trash, but it can do better than this. Here are the adjustments that I'm going to put in place for my second attempt. First, I knock out every early game wild Pokemon I come across. However, none showed up before Mr. Pokemon. That's just perfect. When I want to train, no Pokemon. And always when I'm trying to go fast, there's Pokemon everywhere. Second, I make a point of facing every single trainer that's available along the way to Violet City. Third, once I arrive at the city's gates, I train until I run out of PP on Tackle. I heal up and then continue to grind. This lets me avoid frivolous attempts at Sprout Tower and Falkner. I decide to train in this location because no Bellsprout can show up here. Corsola can manage everything here with ease, even the Poliwag, which actually gives out decent experience. When I run out of PP for tackle though, these water-type wild encounters are not going to be too fast with Bubble, so I reset the clock and train during the day, using up the rest of the PP on Bubble. Then I return to the Pokemon Center and I catch a Bellsprout for Cut and Flash on my way back. Before Sprout Tower, which I'm gonna do this time, I fight the bird catchers in the gym for a bit of extra experience. And with the money that I've earned from all these battles, I buy potions and escape routes to prevent me from losing time walking back to the center to heal. Corsola is at a higher level this time, and that makes a big difference. The potions that I purchased completely prevent trips to the Pokemon Center, and then I arrive at the final sage. He's got 2 Bellsprout, and one of them knows Growth, so I'm a bit scared. However, I can 2-shot both of them, so Growth actually works in my favor in this instance. It's now time for the majestic mud-slapping underleveled but overpowered birds. Falkner opens with Pidgey and Corsola takes it down to orange health with Bubble. While Mudslap lowers my accuracy, I manage to hit with my second Bubble and finish the first bird off. So I'm going into the Pidgeotto fight with only 1 stage lower accuracy. This turns out to make all the difference and Corsola emerges victorious. I've earned the Zephyr badge for the 2nd time in a single playthrough video. That feels pretty bad. But in this playthrough I have avoided all resets. A little bit of prior experience goes a long way. Now I need Bubble Beam for Bugsy and the second rival fight. There are a lot of trainers on the following route and in Union Cave. I'm going to fight all of them and defeat all the wild Pokemon that I run into to get to level 25 as fast as possible. Despite failing really badly against Bellsprout, Falkner, Bugsy, and the rival, Corsola is actually great at regular trainers. Rock is a great defensive typing, and access to physical and special moves gives me a lot of flexibility offensively. In Azalea Town, there are more opportunities to level up. The Rockets and Slowpoke Well give decent experience, and the gym has 4 trainers to fight. With all of this extra training along the way, I'm at level 23, so I wasn't able to completely avoid grinding. The cave is the best place to do this, because the occasional Onix gives great experience and Corsola has good moves to knock out all the possible encounters. With training completed and Bubble Beam on my moveset, I'm ready to give these key battles another shot. I've reduced Corsola's time significantly, but what is more important for me is the fact that I haven't had to reset yet once. Let's see if Bugsy is going to change that though. I'll use the same harden strategy as before. I might as well take the time to set up against Metapod to improve my chances. Scyther is next. I use Bubble Beam and yes! It does so much damage. This is what Corsola needed. Bugsy is out of the way, but there is still a Bayleaf to deal with. The rival opens with Ghastly, and Bubble Beam takes it out in a single hit. Bayleaf is next. I outspeed, and Bubble Beam does so much damage due to a lucky critical hit. Then the Grass Dinosaur tries Poison Powder, but it fails. And then something strange happens. It just keeps trying to poison me. Corsola knocks it out, and the following Zubat is no issue. I've made it past this awful section of the game. I played better this time, but the rival fight still was all luck. Goldenrod is where I have to run a lot of errands and obtain items that are key for the run later on. For example, grab the radio card, bike, and the coin case. I pick up Return from the department store, which I normally do later, but might as well do now. I'll continue to pick it up at this time in the future. By the way, I'm carefully considering what to do with this overpowered move. I realize how it can over-centralize all of the strategies around a single move. I don't really have an answer yet, but soon I think I will. After that's out of the way, I buy an Abra to gain access to the field move Teleport. Then I head north to obtain the TM for Rollout and talk to the Squirt Bottle Lady's sister. I really need a different name for her. Squirt Bottle Lady's sister just doesn't really roll out off the tongue. Since I've obtained Abra and I healed in Goldenrod, I can teleport back and save some walking time. Whitney is next, and my strategy is to use her tactics against her. It's Miltank after all, so it's thematic to get a little bit cheesy. Corsola sets up Rollout on Clefairy and deals a lot of damage to Miltank with the first hit. I just need to get one more hit in. I did it. Whitney is defeated. That felt so easy. It's nice that Corsola is starting to gain some momentum after its doubly slow start. The Kimono Girl with Jolteon is easy to defeat. After that, I need to complete Burn Tower, which is mandatory in Crystal. That means the rival is also required. I always just fought him in Gold anyways, so that makes comparing Pokemon's times between Gold and Crystal a bit more equitable. It might seem like I was planning this all along. No, I really wasn't. I honestly just enjoyed fighting him in gold, but now it's a happy little coincidence that crystal playthroughs don't get a time disadvantage here. I've been checking my Pokemon's happiness values with a save editor throughout this process of making these videos, and in the early 30s is when return starts to become close to the power of Headbutt. However, the 30% chance to flinch is pretty useful until return significantly overpowers Headbutt. Bayleaf is where this choice to keep Headbutt really pays off, as it causes it to flinch. Curse has me on a timer though, but Bayleaf flinches again. That was a lucky way to win for the second time against the rival. As of late, Morty has been really easy, but will this trend continue today with Corsola? It one-shots Ghastly. Gengar comes out and it isn't a one-shot, but the Spooky Ghost misses 2 turns of Hypnosis, and that lets me knock it out. So it looks like the trend is continuing today with another lucky win in Ecruteak City. You may have already posted a comment asking why I didn't teach Corsola Surf immediately after the Kimono Girls. If this is you, thanks for helping with the YouTube algorithm. But let me explain in detail why I made this extra important strategical choice. I forgot about Surf. Yep, that's it. Normally I get Surf, it feels like an item that I just need to progress through the story with, instead of a useful move to teach to my Pokemon. I defaulted to that thinking today, but because of luck, Ecruteak City was easy, so Surf wasn't required today anyways. The Lighthouse is next. I'm not going to fight all the trainers. Corsola is doing well now because it's fairly overleveled from earlier. I did almost forget to say hi to Dennis though. Don't worry, I backtracked and made sure that this important step was taken care of. By the way, Dennis, now you're a regular addition to my Johto playthroughs, as well as a regular addition to my comments section. Across the sea, it's time for Chuck. I saved before the fighting trainers in his gym. Corsola surprisingly does very well against these fighting types. Its 85 base defense and base special defense are both starting to pay off, and despite a really slow and painful start, it's now capable of tanking hits and putting work in with Surf. Chuck opens with Primeape, and Surf takes it out in a single hit. Next is Poliwrath. I go for Headbutt here, it does good damage, and I get a flinch. That's an excellent first turn. I bring Poliwrath down to orange health, and it misses Dynamic Punch. This is going to be a 4-hit. Corsola takes it down to red health, and then it uses Hypnosis. Dynamic Punch lands 2 turns in a row. Alright, that seems unfair. Chuck is cheating, everyone. Dynamic Punch never lands 2 turns in a row. I immediately try again because I have a different strategy in mind. Despite Rollout being not very effective against fighting types, it has Stab and doubles in power every turn, so I think that it might be able to do it. Against Primeape, I get 3 turns to power up. Poliwrath comes out and I cross my fingers and hope that Rollout will not miss on my 4th turn. And to my surprise, it knocks Poliwrath out due to a critical hit. I'd really like it if Jasmine was an easy fight today. Surf should be able to take care of the Magnemites and Steelix, but Iron Tail is going to deal so much damage if it actually hits me. The first Magnemite is a 1-hit. Okay, please let this continue. Surf hits the second one and it's also a 1-hit. Water moves are super effective against the Steelix, and it doesn't have high special defense, and that allows Corsola to take it out in a single hit as well. So it was an easy Jasmine battle. I'm so happy with this result. The pink piece of sea trash is starting to become really useful. At the Lake of Rage, the TM for Hidden Power is available, and I want to talk about it. Despite this being a normal type attack, it actually can't deal normal type damage, and instead is assigned a different type of damage based on your Pokemon's DVs. The power of this move is also a variable which is determined by DVs. So if you have max DVs, like Corsola does in this playthrough, Hidden Power will deal dark type damage and have a base power of 70. When I played through the game with Girafarig, I lucked out and got Hidden Power Ground, which put in work against Jasmine and provided a smoother route to victory than I otherwise would have had. So the results that Girafarig obtained are based on the luck of getting Hidden Power Ground. This sort of RNG can skew the tier list at the end, so I've been thinking of different approaches to solve this issue. Here's what I've come up with. 1. Always use Perfect Pokemon, which will make Hidden Power a 70 power dark move in all playthroughs. 2. Don't use Hidden Power at all and avoid the RNG that it creates. I'm honestly leaning towards number 1. It removes the Hidden Power RNG, gives Dark types a decent stab move, and it levels the playing field because all my future Johto runs would use Perfect Pokemon. Then, my Johto tier list will become a ranking of my playthroughs with the best possible Pokemon of each species, rather than comparing single attempts with random selections from their gene pools. I'm genuinely interested in reading what your thoughts are on this issue. Do you have a preference between the two solutions, or do you have a completely different solution? Let me know. Here's another move choice that I had to think deeply about. Rollout or Ancient Power. Ancient Power ends up becoming a special move in Generation 4, but damage category is determined by type in Generation 2, so they're both physical moves here. Corsola will get Stab on both of them, so Rollout will start with a power of 45, and Ancient Power will have a power of 90. In the end, I think it's going to be a bit more interesting to explore Corsola without Rollout because we already know how strong that move is. So I'm making the choice for the sake of curiosity and entertainment. I'll try Defense Curl and Rollout against Red at the end of the video because I have a feeling that that is the more powerful strategy. It's time for price. Another advantage of Ancient Power is that it has a 10% chance to boost all of your stats by one stage. This happens in this fight, making Corsola a serious boss. Then we get Scott's Thought's Misplay of the Run, and I use Ancient Power against Piloswine. This strange pig has higher defense, and it takes neutral damage from rock moves. Corsola also has higher special attack, and Surf has 95 base power. After Stab and super effective modifiers, Surf would have a power of 285 against Piloswine, versus Ancient Power's 90 power. Oh well, price sucks anyways, I guess it didn't matter. I think one of the reasons that I make mistakes like this is that I'm playing on 3 times speed. I need to make decisions incredibly fast. A year ago when I started making these videos, I honestly had no idea what I was doing. The type chart only existed in my mind in bits and pieces, and they were all kind of blurry and mushed together. Despite my best efforts, I am still internalizing this information, and that means that recall is delayed. Also, I'm juggling all the tasks of recording while playing through the game. I'm cutting footage, updating the moveset, writing a script, and ensuring that the timer is running all at once. It can become really easy to accidentally misclick or make a bad decision when focusing on something else. Maybe my mistakes are more of a feature than a bug though. Like this guy. The 4th rival fight takes place in the underground. I use Ancient Power to knock out the Golbat, but I don't get a stat boost this time. Surf one-shots Magnemite, leading to Meganium. I attempt Headbutt in the hopes that I'll get a flinch and improve my odds, but I don't, and Razor Leaf deals around 1/3 damage to Corsola. That's not too much, I just need to avoid a critical hit. I do, and Meganium faints after 3 uses of Headbutt. Surf takes care of Haunter, but Sneasel might outspeed, and I have very low health. It does, but it only uses the Leer, and then Ancient Power knocks it out. This is the most worried that I've been for the 4th rival fight in Johto in recent memory. I'm glad that I made it through on my first attempt. Claire is next, and I don't have access to Ice Beam yet. I'm a bit worried. The issue is that Dragonair can paralyze Corsola right away. Thunderbolt is super effective, but luckily my Sea Trash is bulky, making recover reliable. I get past all the Dragonairs on my first attempt. Kingdra, the ultimate troll, uses Smokescreen on the first turn. The Johto Sand Attack. I hate this move. In combination with Paralysis, Corsola only lands 1 headbutt before it faints. Round 2. I make it back to Kingdra, and this time it doesn't decide to use Smokescreen. I take it into orange health and then use Recover twice to heal completely. When I start attacking again, Claire uses a Hyper Potion, bringing Kingdra back to full health. And then it spams 3 turns of Smokescreen, one of which fails luckily. Despite all the smoke in Corsola's tiny cute eyes, it manages to headbutt Kingdra with its tiny forehead horn, and the mighty Seahorse Dragon faints. With all of the HMs, I can now journey around Johto and pick up rare candies. On my way, there are 2 TMs that I want to ensure that I pick up. TM 18 for Rain Dance, which requires Strength and Surf in Slowpoke's Well, and TM 40 for Defense Curl, which is in Mount Mortar and requires Waterfall and Surf. Now it's time for Victory Road, and right away this last could be brutal. Grass doesn't resist rock, so I go for Ancient Power, but Ivysaur survives. Lucky for me, it only uses Leech Seed, and I move on. Venusaur is next. I outspeed, and Ancient Power does over half damage, but Leech Seed heals it into green health, and then it unleashes Razor Leaf. Okay, Corsola survives with 22 hit points. My next attack knocks it out. In Victory Road, I grab the TM for Earthquake, and then I face off against the rival for the final time. The only Pokemon on his team that I'm worried about is Meganium. Lucky for me, Corsola's special defense is pretty good, and I managed to get past the Grass Titan in red health. I was pretty scared for these last 2 Pokemon because they're faster than my Little Rock, but due to my level and stat experience, I move first and finish the fight off. Here's my moveset and stats when I arrive at the league. I've delayed teaching Earthquake and Return specifically because my moveset is constrained with Recover taking up a spot. Because there's no move reminder in this generation, I need to keep it for the entire playthrough if I want to have it for Red. You're all telling me that I use Rest a lot, so I want to give Corsola the chance to use the recovery move that it has on its Learn set instead of just defaulting to my typical tactics. Plus, Recover is really great, especially with a defensive Pokemon. In Johto, I don't save between league members, and that's going to make things more challenging. And Will is certainly hard at Corsola's current level. His Executor is really annoying if I don't have access to a normal move. I try again without Earthquake, but Will is still too much. I'll train a bit and reattempt at a higher level. Will would be easier if Ice Beam was available before the league, but that isn't the case. Working in Corsola's favor is its moveset, which makes the Pokemon in Victory Road easy to knock out, so training is fast and efficient. At level 60, I've changed my moveset up to include Return. Ancient Power takes care of Xatu and Jinx, and Return works decently well against Executor and Slowbro. Koga is next. He leads with Ariados. I went for Surf here, but I think that Ancient Power would have been a bit better despite Ariados being slightly more physically tanky. Then I get a nice surprise. Surf one-shots Fortress. When does this happen? It honestly feels like never, but it has less special defense and Surf is very strong. Mach is easy to knock out. Crobat gets really annoying with Double Team, but Corsola tanks all of its attacks with ease. Then it poisons me with Toxic, putting me on a timer. Eventually that bad poison is going to outdamage Recover and then I'll faint. But Corsola takes the bat out and all that's left is Arceus, Venomoth, and Surf gets the job done. So I've come so far with this channel and learning about Pokemon. Watch me use Earthquake against Hitmontop when it's underground. That wouldn't have happened 6 months ago. With that out of the way, I need to pass 2 tests on Bruno's team. The first is Hitmonchan's Mach Punch, which deals a little bit of damage. The second is Machamp's Cross Chop, and it does a lot, but Corsola survives. No embarrassing loss against this hiker today. Karen is next, and Vileplume is what I'm worried about. Umbreon fails Sand Attack, so I'm fighting this smelly grass type with full accuracy. Vileplume paralyzes Corsola. My Earthquake does good damage, and I survive the next turn's Petal Dance. Then I knock the Vileplume out. But this isn't over. Paralysis lets Gengar outspeed and use Curse. Murkrow outspeeds and damages Corsola just before fainting. So it's all down to Houndoom. It outspeeds and uses Crunch, but my defensive bulk lets me survive at 26 hit points, and I knock the Fire Doggo out with Surf. Lance is actually fairly easy. I just need to heal against his Dragonite with Recover, and then strike back without depleting Ancient Power's PP. This takes time, but eventually I make it to Charizard and Aerodactyl. These two are the reason that I saved my PP and Ancient Power. So, Corsola did it. It's defeated all of Johto and become the champion. With this achievement, we unlock Ice Beam. I could have taught this to Corsola after defeating Surge and Sabrina, but I don't want to backtrack into Johto and lose time by doing that. So my moveset won't be ideal for the upcoming gyms in favor of streamlining my routing. This choice ends up hurting Corsola's performance against the Kanto gyms. I make it past Surge, but Sabrina forces me to reset once. After that, the rest of them are very easy as usual. Corsola has a small PP reserve, and I was forced to use my Ethers in the league, so I've got to use the Pokemon Centers to heal here. Blue is the second to last challenge. Well, that's not exactly true. Corsola is excellent against his entire team. I have a physical move for Alakazam and super effective hits for everyone else: Pidgeot, Executor, Rhydon, Arcanine, and Gyarados. He's pretty easy. All of the pain from the beginning of this run has now completely disappeared. After getting to Goldenrod, Corsola has been doing a really good job with only the occasional hiccup. I head over to Professor Oak to obtain access to Mount Silver and then, oh no, I forgot Janine. I was trying to do a new routing through Johto and surf from Fuchsia to Cinnabar, but then I forgot to do that after Blaine. Next time I'll get that right. Red is the final challenge, the ultimate test. I always fight him once at the level I arrive at before using any rare candies. Pikachu is first and it outspeeds with Thunder, taking Corsola down to orange health. My Surf doesn't KO, and then Red uses a full restore. However, my second attack gets a better range and Pikachu faints. Espeon is next, and it deflates all possibilities of winning by outspeeding with Psychic. I was fairly sure Corsola couldn't do it at level 73 anyways. I use 5 rare candies and try again, but Espeon is still a wall. I probably should have been using Ancient Power here because it has less physical defense, but I was trying to get a freeze with Ice Beam. I don't get it and Corsola faints. At level 83, after using all my rare candies, I can now make it past the Espeon. Venusaur is next, and Ice Beam does good damage, but I'm not outspeeding it, so Solar Beam takes Corsola out. I tried one more time, but it looks like I'm gonna need to train. This is the reason I save all my rare candies until the end. Grinding for experience in the 70s or 80s takes forever, and if you get walled late game and have no rare candies, it's easy to lose all the time you gained earlier just grinding. I do this in every run, so there's always a consistent approach for every Pokemon, allowing for the comparisons to be fair. So I was just training here in the grass, and then I stopped by the Pokemon Center to heal up and replenish my PP, and upon exiting, I get this strange call from Professor Elm about Pokerus. What? Actually? I checked Corsola out, and it turns out that I did in fact catch Pokerus. This is a 1 in 21,845 chance event, meaning that it's actually rarer than finding a shiny Pokemon. The nice thing is that it actually came late in the run, so I can celebrate this rare occurrence without it impacting the results of the playthrough. Maybe I should do a video with the same Pokemon playing through the game, one with Pokerus and one without. Pokerus versus no Pokerus. At level 88, things are still bad. The issue here is that Snorlax is walling Corsola completely. I can stay alive with Recover pretty much indefinitely, but I don't have a way to knock the Snorlax out quickly. Funnily enough, I actually managed to knock it out with struggle, but Blastoise finishes Corsola off immediately afterwards. It's time to use the TM for Rain Dance that I mentioned picking up earlier. I'm careful not to set it up right away because it lets Thunder bypass accuracy and evasion checks. In addition, it boosts the power of Water-type moves by 50% and decreases the power of Fire-type moves by 50%. It also decreases the power of Solar Beam, so this move is an excellent way to patch up Corsola's weaknesses. Making this move even better, it gives Corsola more offensive power against Snorlax. Even with this boost, things aren't looking good though. Surf isn't dealing much damage, and Snorlax is just going to use Rest every time I bring it into low health. But then this happens. I can't believe how much damage that critical hit did. And then Blastoise comes out, and I was worried about having Rain on the field for this, but it fades immediately. Looking pretty good, like my girlfriend, and then I use a bunch of Ice Beams against the Water Turtle. Okay, I'm doing this for the chance to freeze. I obviously meant to do that. I'm so great at this game. Don't question my choices in the comments. I think the funniest part of all of this is the fact that after all of these attempts at using Ice Beam, I don't even freeze it, and then I have to knock it out with Surf anyways. Last is Charizard, and I could have just knocked it out immediately, but I went for a victory lap with Rain Dance. Another extremely well thought out move choice. After that, Corsola knocks the Knot Dragon out and gets a time of 3 hours, 14 minutes, and 58 seconds, as its official time. However, unofficially, I'm interested in how it would do against Red with the Rollout Defense Curl combo. Let's find out. I'm using a copy of my save file for this, so all my stats and stat experience is exactly the same as it was in the previous fights. This is for science after all, not for bragging rights. Here's what I learned. The fight feels better at a lower level than did with my previous moveset. Surf is great against Pikachu, and Rollout feels like it could give me a shot against Espeon if I just got a little bit of luck, say maybe a critical hit on one of the turns. However, after repeating the fight a couple of times, it becomes clear that this isn't going to work. Espeon can be managed with Surf more consistently than with Rollout, but that means that Venusaur will come out and outspeed me and one-shot me with Solar Beam. Without using Rollout on Espeon, I can't set it up enough to knock out this grass beast. At level 83, not much has changed. Pikachu is a threat because it usually lowers my attack first turn, and then Thunder does a lot of damage and can paralyze. To prevent this, Surf is the best first turn. Then I want to use Rollout against Venusaur. I need to use it against Espeon in order to set up, which means that Corsola has to tank a couple Psychics. Obviously, Rollout isn't 100% accurate, so there is a chance that this will fail purely based on luck. At level 88, I finally managed to win. Surf for Pikachu, Defense Curl into Rollout against Espeon, pray that you land a hit against Venusaur once or twice, and then heal, and set up once Snorlax enters the battlefield. At this point, you've basically done it because Venusaur is the last major threat. This moveset is certainly not the best. I strongly preferred the Rain Dance version, even though that one relied on a lucky critical hit. But there is another option that might work well here. What about Return to take Espeon and Venusaur down? It one-shots Pikachu, manages Espeon well, but sadly can't take the Venusaur down at this level without pure luck from a critical hit. This also relies on the fact that Pikachu has to fail its first turn charm. I could use Protect to avoid it, but I still won't be able to knock the Venusaur out. I continued to experiment and discovered that Return, Rollout, Ice Beam, and Defense Curl allows for a more consistent path through Venusaur. But then Snorlax and Blastoise can deal just enough damage to finish me off. I've considered if I was making the logical error of keeping Defense Curl with Rollout, but it turns out that the moveset Return, Rollout, Ice Beam, and Recover isn't better either. So I went back to verify my original moveset, and then I discovered that it's actually worse than the new Rollout movesets. The main reason I was able to progress previously was that I got a lucky critical hit during the rain. Without it, this Snorlax is able to effectively stall Corsola out until all my PP has been drained. At this point, I'm getting a bit frustrated. I managed to win earlier on luck, but now I can't find a way to consistently get past red at level 88. So, what's the best solution? I tried out Protect with Ice Beam, Return, and Rollout, and that made me realize that Protect is the solution against Solar Beam. The moveset that I came up with is Protect, Recover, Return, and Surf. Protect lets me avoid Charm first turn, preserving Return's damage, which means that Snorlax's setup with Amnesia isn't going to reduce the damage that it takes because I can just use Return instead. Surf knocks the Pikachu out in a single turn, and against Espeon, I can use Return for physical damage. Venusaur is now extremely easy. Alternating between Return and Protect completely negates all of its attempts to use Solar Beam. Then Snorlax is last. First turn, Surf maximizes damage, and then Return after it sets up its Amnesia. The only scenario that can stop Corsola at this point is Paralysis, which will allow Snorlax to move first and heal before my third attack hits. But in this case, I've done it. This moveset feels like the best of all of them. It requires some luck against Pikachu, Espeon, and Snorlax, but overall it feels really good. So here's where Corsola fits into the tier list. Not a bad performance for a Pokemon that isn't very strong. I'm glad I went the extra mile and started again to give it a better time. I'm also happy I explored its moveset at the end to find something a bit more consistent than my original set. Up next for Johto is Gligar, so stay tuned for that video. Like, subscribe, ring the chime echo, comment, and share this video with a friend. It's my goal to go full-time with this channel, so these little engagements really do help. Also, I read all the comments, so your message won't be forgotten. If you want me to know something, just write it down below. If you want to go above and beyond, consider joining my Patreon. I'm collecting the original 151 patrons, and we're honestly getting pretty close. Regardless of the amount that you pledge, you'll be included in this credit sequence. But the most important thing is that you're just here watching. Thanks so much. If you've made it this far, you're incredible. I'll see you in my next video. Here are the rules for today. I can only use Corsola and Battlela. Oh, what is this? Battlela, no more of that, none of that, Battle. Battlela, it sounds like a Pokemon. It's like a beetle. Battlela. So, what is Corsola? We need to determine that first. I've figured out that Qwilfish, oh my gosh, another one, Qwilfish, and the same type, not type. Ah! I got this. Okay, here we go. Second reason, I play yellow in Generation 1, so I like... Oh, burp. Awful. Gotta do that again. It's always the worst. You're like reading a sentence and then the burp is like slowly coming up and you're just like, no, don't ruin this. This take is great. Blah. Well, it's bad. Okay, here we go. By the way, I'm carefully considering what to do with this very overpowered move. Oh, burp. There it is again. Take a drink of water. Gonna burp and ruin the next line.